This is Stephen Byer from Unearthed Films.
This is Eric Stanzi.
This is Fred Vogel.
This is Krandamit Stake.
This is Scott Philip Gergens, director of 29 Needles, and you are experiencing Sadistic Cinema.
Sadistic Cinema.
Sadistic Cinema!
This is Sadistic Cinema.
Welcome, everybody, to the sickest, darkest side of the internet. This is Sadistic Cinema. Here, as always, is your host, David Gibson, and my partner, Stephen Nemeth. Stephen, how you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. Always wonderful to be here on Sadistic Cinema. Did I say that right? Can I even say words today?
Well, your cerebral palsy is kicking in tonight,
Sadistic
I guess.
Cinema. Yeah, I had a bourbon up too.
Oh no, was that politically incorrect? We might have to edit that part.
Well, that thread you were talking about, the other day, they kept using CP interchangeably between child pornography and cerebral palsy, and then I was just like,
that can get quite confusing.
I know what we're talking about here.
Yeah, if you say my grandpa has CP, that can really mess up your whole day.
Yeah, he's a weird dude. He's a weird dude, and it's not about the cognizance and the tremors. Or is it?
Well, could be. Well, tonight we have with us another alum from our old Sadistic Cinema days, writer, director, actor extraordinaire, Brian Paulin. Brian, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Oh, doing great, man. Thanks for coming on with us.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah, Brian, you just had a new release pop out. Tell the folks a little bit about that.
Well, after about
not a new release, but
yeah, it was actually finished about 3 or 4 years ago, but we just had trouble getting it out. But we finally released Morbid Tales on DVD.
Okay, and for the people who don't know about Morbid Tales, give them a little breakdown about what the film is.
It's actually an anthology of the very first 3 short films we shot back in 1990 and 1991. 3 movies that they were listed on our website back when our website was up. We have a filmography on there, and over the years, many years, people would keep asking if we're ever going to release the original movies, and my answer would always be no. I have no plan on doing that because they were our first movies. The quality isn't very good. They're not the greatest movies in the world, so I don't want to release that and charge money for them. But yeah, people just kept asking about them over and over again. So finally, I felt comfortable. I came up with the concept of Morbid Tales. I was like, okay, I feel comfortable releasing them this way.
And you did a wraparound to kind of bring all the stories together and make it an anthology style. How long ago did you film that wraparound?
4 years ago, actually. I get updates every once in a while on Facebook saying for a memory thing, and I just saw one recently of filming on Morbid Tales. I was like, holy shit, seriously? That was 4 years ago?
Oh, man.
Yeah, so it took a while. It actually took a while for us to shoot it, too, because we just kept adding more and more to it. Originally, it was just going to be like, okay, we'll shoot the wraparound, the 3 guys telling their stories, and we'll do some simple kills at the end, and that's it. But as usual, it just kind of took on a life of its own, and next thing you know, we're doing huge, large-scale effects, and we just kept adding. We're like, all right, let's go out, let's go crazy with it.
So, what were the obstacles you encountered for it to take so long to come out?
The first thing that happened was the company I was working for at the time, the store I was at closed down right in the middle of shooting, and they transferred me to another store, which was an hour away. And instead of working 8-hour days, I got stuck working 10-hour days, and it was an hour commute each way. So, and then because it was a retail thing, I no longer had my weekends off. I had days off wherever. So scheduling with, my other guys who were acting and crewing and stuff, it was just a nightmare trying. So there was probably a good 6 months where the movie was shut down just because of work. We couldn't get the schedules to line up. So that sucked.
And after it was all put together, it took a little while to get it out after that as well, right?
Yeah, just financial problems. I mean, I don't make a living off of Morbid Vision films. We just basically we do it for fun. We try to make it as professional as possible, but not making a living off of this. So it just at the time, we just could not come up with the funds for it. Even though we did do an Indiegogo, and we actually made the worst mistake we've probably ever made with our company, is we did an Indiegogo campaign for CRYPTIC PLASM. And that was successful. We got CRYPTIC PLASM DVDs made. We got that out. That was fine. But we got caught up with like, let's add more perks. Let's get more people interested. We added Morbid Tales as a perk to the CRYPTIC PLASM thing. You know, if you add more money, then you'll get the Morbid Tales DVD. So when financial problems hit, I owed all these people this DVD. So that just became a nightmare.
Oh,
so.
yeah.
And
Yeah, go ahead, Stephen.
Plasm, your disc of CRYPTIC PLASM, was that 2015 it came out?
I'm trying to remember.
It was a little late. Well, I know that we talked to you and we did the episode to you, and you allowed us to see it. But I think that was before the disc was actually.
Yeah, we did like 100 copies because that one took a while too. Our movies take forever to come out. So in 2015 we did a limited edition like DVD-R release, and then we had to raise the money to get the DVDs made. And I think it was like a year. No, it was actually 2 years later because I think it got officially released in 2017.
Okay. Now, was there any difference in the footage in the 2017 edition?
There were a couple of things we fixed. We went back and not a lot, but I re-edited a couple little things because after watching over and over, I'm like, oh, I wish I did this. I wish I did that. And we added just a few little extra gore shots here and there just to help make some of the effects play better in the movie. So there is a little bit of a difference between the official release and the limited release we did.
Yeah, and I'm glad you bring up, the struggle that it is to get these films made. I mean, we speak to a lot of directors and we touch on it slightly sometimes, but I really think people don't, people who are not directly in the world. I'm not a filmmaker, but Steven is, and I've been around enough to understand, at least from an outside experience how difficult it is. But I think a lot of fans, they just don't realize the amount of work, money goes into it, and it almost it pisses us off sometimes when we see how fans react to the filmmakers when they just ran into a mess. Have you had any issues dealing with people who just wouldn't understand the plight?
Luckily, I got lucky from the Morbid Tales thing. I think a couple of years ago, maybe only 2 people had end up having an issue with us. I remember we refunded one person. There might have been 2, but that was it out of everyone. Everyone else was cool about it, luckily. And, I kept doing updates on Facebook saying, here's the situation. I'm trying my best. But I mean, it's expensive because our thing is we've always tried to always maintain releasing professionally pressed DVDs. We've had issues with DVD-Rs in the past where, I don't know, not so much now, but years ago, certain players wouldn't play certain discs. And I hate knowing the fact that I sold someone something that all of a sudden they get it and they go to look forward to watch the movie and it doesn't play. So I've never fully trusted DVD-Rs. So I'm always trying to do the professional ones, but it's very expensive. The price has not come down. No. Even FETUS, the reason why we were out of stock for FETUS for almost a year is the company that we order from, they upped their minimum order. We used to be able to just get like 200, 250 copies. We're like, all right, that'll do us for, a few months or whatever. Then they made it, they fired the guy we were dealing with and they said, nope, he wasn't supposed to do that. The minimum is 500. And that's $700, $800 right there. Like, we just don't have $800 to just pay for these things right at the moment. So
yeah, and it's $800 you have to sit on for a few months to start at least even seeing your investment break even. So it's a tough go.
And they make it to where it is it's not even worth getting 500 copies because it's actually you get more for buying 1,000. The way it averages out, it's just so it's a waste to even pay for 500. You might as well just get the 1,000, but then you have to wait until you have the money for the 1,000 DVDs. So it's just it's difficult. It's very difficult to get these things out there.
Yeah, and what you did with Morbid Tales, me and Steven were talking about it. It's almost like a metal type of way of doing it. It's like one of your favorite bands go ahead and they release some of their demos from back in the day. How have people received it?
It's been received very well. Mostly the wraparound story. I'm glad we put as much as we did into it because I've been getting a lot of great positive feedback about the wraparound story, especially the finale of the movie.
Oh
But
yeah,
it's also
it's pretty epic, and for the scale that you were able to make it on what was a shoestring budget, I was really impressed.
thank you. Yeah, we just want each time we just feel like we have to deliver. We want to make sure we kind of want to top the last release we did every time. So it's like, all right, how what can we do here? And then the ideas just start flowing. We try to figure out how to do it. And yeah, the creature effects for Morbid Tales was pretty fun to do. We had a great time doing that one.
And what you were saying is that you pretty much had very understanding backers, for the Indiegogo as for the delay. When you at the time when you were doing that Cryptic Plasm, that was one of the most fragile moments, or the moments, or the year after that for crowdfunding underground and micro budget horror.
Oh yeah.
Because there had been a good handful of projects that got extreme delays, some ones that were not handled very well, some others that had other types of situations involved in it. And the fact that you had minimal issues, or you only had two people that you had to rectify immediate concerns with, is really good. I've never heard anybody say anything about the wait or a concern that it wasn't going to get fulfilled. I heard people say, I can't wait, and like, I hope it's soon. But some of those other campaigns, people started talking active crap about, and it got pretty intense for some of them. And it hurt a lot of the legitimate, Indiegogo projects. And not that some of those projects involved in controversy were not legitimate. Maybe there was one or two that were a bit shady, but then the others just, got caught up in that that time of uncertainty, and then with the delays, it created a bad taste for a lot of people. Yeah, it's great that your previous work, and I guess as people know you, they trusted to wait even 5 years, right?
Yeah, it was close
6?
to 4 years. I think 4 years for the. Yeah, it was actually 4 years. I can't believe it went that long. Jesus Christ. But yeah, I mean, we got lucky, but I saw all that stuff on Facebook. All the other, the other ones that, when people got screwed over, and then see people, I'll never back one of these things again, and people talking shit about filmmakers. And in the background, I wouldn't post, I wouldn't reply for most of them. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, oh my God, I owe people a movie. And like the stress that I was under for, at least like 3 of the years or whatever. The fact that all the DVDs are out now is just like, oh, thank God.
Now, Brian, you make gore films, and you don't shy away from that, and you're proud of what you do. What are some of your influences when it comes to gore?
Right off the bat, the first main influence was just the work of George Romero and Tom Savini.
Okay.
What got me into doing makeup effects was watching the 80s videotape from Fangoria, Scream Grades Volume 1 on Tom Savini's career. And watching that, and watching the interviews with George Romero, and then that's when I first rented that was very, very early on when I was first getting into movies, horror, the gore movies and everything. I rented that back when I was in high school, and I was fascinated by it. And then I rented Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, and I was just blown away by, what I was seeing. So that was my first influence, was, like the gore and Day of the Dead and stuff. And then from there, the next gore film I saw was Lamberto Bava's Demons. And that was just like, oh, all right, this is awesome. This is what I want to do.
Yeah, I see a little Ittenbacher in your work too.
I've had a lot of people say that, and to be honest with you, that because I didn't see any of his movies until much later, so that wasn't an influence at all.
Yeah, I think maybe why we see that is because he was very good at getting some grossness out of no money.
Oh yeah, yep.
and he was really sticky and gooey, and a lot of your work is too, which is I see some of these gore effects, and I'm not going to mention any names, but we've talked about it before, where the gore effects are just dry and they look rubbery, and it's like couldn't you just get like a bottle of water or something?
Yeah,
mist down the surface. Let it look like it actually came from a body, like it's actually organs, like it was actually immersed in fluid, before it came out.
I know the exact look you're talking about, and some of my earlier stuff had some of that too. And then at some point, I just started to notice stuff. Actually, all right, to be completely honest, one thing that I saw that changed the way I started doing some of my effects was a friend a long time ago brought over an autopsy video because father worked at a hospital, and his father brought it home. He's like, "Here, you want to check this out?" And that was the first time I ever saw autopsy footage. And then I noticed it's like I saw what the actual anatomy was, and I saw certain aspects. I'm like, you never see that in movies, and certain things stuck with me. I'm like, oh, those colors, okay. So I always try to make sure when because I like to make my gore graphic. It's not just all blood. I like to show you things that, yes, this is what's inside the body and everything, because it just makes it go, ugh. They're a little bit more, makes some people just like, oh, Jesus Christ, wow. And I notice it's different colors, different type of textures and everything. So I tried to add that to my gore.
Yeah, and we spoke to Fred Vogel about this topic about like real gore, and he's not a fan, but he does watch it just for the reference points of seeing what a real murder, what the real insides of a body look like.
Well, that's one thing that affected Tom Savini too, was
Vietnam,
combat photography that he was doing, and I think the tone too. If you think about the effects movies that Savini started off, I mean, there's some that have some comic elements as the 80s progressed, but when we look at the first things he was doing, they were very grim, and it just had that dark tone and a very nihilistic, a very dangerous tone, and it, those films affected me a lot. So I definitely see where that passion comes from. Those were the first more graphic things I guess I saw. There's a lot of 70s horror movies, but Tom Savini really took it into a new era.
Yeah, you think of like the later stuff and you kind of forget. It's like, some of the earlier stuff was really graphic and really, just like you said, grim. Like,
I think one of my favorite pieces he ever did was the head explosion in Maniac.
Oh, that was
and
great.
He did it with a real shotgun and like whatever they had left over from lunch. So you have real organic stuff flying through, and it just looks so brilliant. And he just thought of ways to do things that nobody else was doing, and I think that's what made it so good.
Absolutely, definitely.
Now speaking of that, is there any a couple of your favorite gore gags that really inspired you, or things that just like blew you away?
One that really blew me away was in Day of the Dead, the brain zombie on the operating table, where the whole head was taken away except for the back of the skull and just the brain is sitting there. I remember watching that. It was just the way the neck ended, and then you can see the esophagus and everything. I was just like, wow, god damn, that looks amazing. I'm like, that's sick.
Yeah, I think a lot of people forget about that film when we talk about like pivotal, like influential gore films.
You go back. Day of the Dead is extremely gory.
Oh yeah, the last act is brilliant.
Probably in about 10 years, and I did some research on. I didn't get the Scream Factory Collector's Edition when it came out. I had the I guess the original, the first Blu-ray edition that was like, it said like high def digital experience, and they were really, advertising the medium more than they were the film or whatever. And I was researching the Scream Factory version, and I saw people talking in forums, and people kept saying that Australian umbrella release, the ultimate Day of the Dead, they were talking about the bit rate on the picture and the trueness of representation of the colors, black point levels and things like that. And I went ahead and got that. I did want the Scream Factory because I do like a lot of Scream Factory releases of my favorite films, but I picked up that Ultimate Edition, and I haven't stuck it in yet. I'm about to. Every time I think I'm going to, my 3-year-old wakes up, and I'm like, okay, maybe
well,
not.
I revisited it again, and I probably hadn't watched it in 10 years. And the gore is so good. It hits you again. Like, you're like, I forgot how fucking insanely gory this film was.
There's
because
so many gore effects in that.
The story is so good, and it's done by a master. And sometimes you forget that it's the most gory film he did. And that in the last act, where the zombies break in and just start tearing people apart, is insane.
It's just nonstop. I love it.
Oh, I do. I love it. And I think I made a post in the group. My favorite Dead film is whatever the last one I watched was. So if I watched,
I always have appreciation even for ones I loved. If I watched Dawn recently or Night, I could agree with you there, because they're all so masterfully done. The Romero ones.
Oh yeah.
For the longest time, Day of the Dead was my favorite. Then it switched because I really got back into Dawn of the Dead. I'm like, okay, now Dawn of the Dead's my favorite one.
But the gore is just, I mean, Savini did it, but the gore in Dawn is just a lot more comical.
Yeah.
In the paint, how they have the zombies painted is a little more, it's more of a comic book. And Day of the Dead, that just punches you in the gut. It's just ripping everything apart. But such an awesome film.
How do you feel about Savini's Night of the Living Dead?
I like it. I mean, I don't like it as much as the original. One thing I did like when I saw it was I liked the fact that Barbara was a stronger character. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, maybe supposedly the unrated version is finally coming out. I think I saw that. I'll have to watch it again. I don't know. I really liked it when it first came out. I watch it now and I'm like, I don't know. Maybe it's some of the actors I don't get into. I don't know.
I think it's better than the rap it gets, but I would have liked to have seen other things with Savini in the director's chair too.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, I wish he
gets
original more.
Something that was, he was able to craft from the ground up that didn't have a life of its own before he, got attached to it.
Yeah.
Now, are you working on anything else right now, or is there anything that scripts or anything coming?
Well, I'm almost done editing the rough cut of Septic, and while I'm not editing, I am coming up the outline for the next movie we're going to shoot. And that's definitely going to happen because one thing I did during the pandemic and whatever is finally bought a new camera. So I made the commitment to getting a nice new HD camera, so now I have to shoot something with it.
Now you're going to have to put out a Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Yeah, brace yourself for the replication charges on those things.
Yeah, I've heard about that. So unless someone else is willing to jump in there, it's probably going to come out on DVD still, because I don't think we're going to be able to afford to do the Blu-ray. But when it takes 5 years to release a new movie, you don't make a lot of money in between. So yeah, selling a movie usually doesn't help fund the next movie for us.
But it's still, shooting in HD and then compressing it down to SD. You're still going to have it's still going to be worth getting the new camera for you.
I can't wait. I'm just so overloading mini DV tapes into the computer. I'm just so sick of it. I'm doing that with Septic. I'm like, I can't wait until I can just plug it in and then there's the files.
Because those have to transfer in real time, right?
Oh yeah, I have to sit there and I have to pick the take and then do it. I'm just like, oh.
What did you end up picking up for the new camera? What'd you get?
I got my old one was a Panasonic, and I loved the camera, so I grabbed another Panasonic. I saw a lot of good reviews. It's not like a top of the line or anything. It's called an AGAC 30.
Okay.
I think it's kind of almost like the HD next in line to my camera in a way. They're very similar.
Oh, okay.
I used to have what the hell was it called? The Panasonic DVX 100B. That's what my standard definition camera is. Love that camera. Everyone thought I was shooting in HD because the way the colors come out and the way I light. A lot of people, I'm like, no, I'm just doing standard definition. They're like, what? Seriously?
Now, can you tell us anything about Septic? Anything that you could reveal that wouldn't ruin anything?
It's by far the most brutal, disgusting, gory film we've ever shot. We did not hold back at all on this one. I don't know if it was all the stress that I was going through from the Indiegogo thing and Morbid Tales not getting released, and just a whole ton of, I won't go into anything, but personal problems, just life in general. I was very angry during the filming of Septic. So
it was your therapy?
I've said that many times. Shooting Septic was therapy for me for at least a good year. And all my just rage and anger went into that movie.
Oh, do you have like a brief synopsis or some plot points?
It's about a couple. It's actually the story behind this is again the movie just got away from us. It was actually going to be like a 15-minute short. For originally a while ago, we were going to try to get Dead Girl on Film released again on DVD. And Septic was just going to be like a 10-15 minute short, just an added thing as a special feature for it. But as we started shooting, it just grew and grew and grew. And I'm like, I like this story too much. Let's not waste it as a feature. So it turned into a feature-length movie. And it's about a couple who they're trying to have a kid. They're living in a really seedy place. They're kind of seedy type people. And they agree to the girl can't get pregnant. They find out they can do this experimental surgery, but they have no money for it. So someone makes them an offer. Part of the experimental surgery is if they remove a uterus from a live host and used it to artificially impregnate, well, not artificially, but impregnate the girl. So it turns into this whole thing where they are allowed to film it. They will do it for free and everything. So it basically turns into like a Red Room type situation.
Okay.
So it just basically these two people that agree to do this thing, and their life just goes further and further down into a depravity and stuff. So
now, getting back to Morbid Tales, the ending of that film, I think, is maybe some of the most ambitious gore effects that I've seen you do. You have a huge creature. Tell us a little bit about the making of that creature. How did that come about?
Throwing ideas back and forth, really. We were making up as we went along. There was no script. Yeah. There's never any scripts for our movies, to be honest. I usually do outlines, and they're like, let's start shooting. And things just evolve because we've got all the time in the world that we want. We'll take 5 years to shoot a movie if we have to.
Yeah.
But it just evolved. And, I was talking with Joe Olson, and we're like, all right, what if we have this happen? What if we continue with the tree concept, and then these trees, the branches start growing through her body, and she just transforms into it. So we just kept throwing ideas back and forth. We're like, let's go for it. How are we gonna do it? I don't know. We'll figure it out. And then the final creature, it was over 8 feet tall, and it was actually about 12 to 15 feet wide because of the way the branches came out as the legs. And it was actually a bitch to shoot because if I had to get around, I had help and do something behind the creature, I have to walk all the way around the thing, trying not to hit anything on the legs. Joe Olson was actually up on an 8-foot ladder behind the creature, operating the head. He was all in black, so you couldn't see him, but he had to be up on the top of a ladder just to work the head on that thing. So, yeah, we're just like, let's make it as big as possible. Let's go for it.
Yeah, and it came across really, really good. Like I said, it's really intense. Those deaths at the end of the film, and I think you knocked it out of the park.
Thank you. I'm glad it worked. Great to hear.
And I think the people that were patient to see what Morbid Tales end up being, they were obviously knew the gist of Morbid Tales and the fact that they were the early shorts and what they ended up getting with the wraparound and your quality and standard that you're at now for effects and execution. I think there's some pleased people out there.
That's great. That's great to hear. Also, what actually also helped inspire us to make that finale the way it came out was the fact that I never wanted to really release those short films in the first place because I felt self-conscious about them.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, people aren't going to enjoy these. But then I'm like, no, people really want to see them. But I'm like, well, if we're finally releasing them, I want to make sure that they're getting a whole new gore finale. As many effects as possible. So by doing that finale, it made me feel like, okay, at least I'm delivering something that I feel like is going to live up to the expectation. Like if they hate the short films, okay, at least that by the time the movie ends, they'll be happy.
Well, it's like going back to that metal concept. You're putting out the demos, but you might put out a couple new unreleased songs with it. So you make it, you're going to listen to some shit that we did when we were high in our basement.
Yeah.
But we're going to put out some new shit for you as well.
Yeah, we just wanted to make sure to live it all around.
I remember when I got, I did my order through Black Lava when they first put it up. And I remember it showing up and just holding it and slipping it out. And I'm like, okay, let's see, especially this cover image, which, has got me really into seeing what you were doing with the wraparound. It was cool, very mysterious, and it was bizarre, weird, juicy, and intense. So I think you definitely did something there. Now, talking about these effects, and since we've got a mix of it here, we have the most primal stuff that's available, and the most refined of what you're doing. Tell us about your effects process, 1990 versus 2020, materials-wise, and other things about, creating, those images.
Material-wise, surprisingly, I'm still using all the same stuff. I never moved on to silicone. I've done silicone molds, but I've never done silicone appliances. I just I'm comfortable with the foam latex. I'm not working for a studio, so one thing that actually changed a lot, which is interesting, is when I first started out, I was I was reading Savini's books, I was reading Dick Smith's books. I eventually took Dick Smith's course, and throughout that whole process, those years, I was doing everything by the book. I would use all the material, the proper materials. I make molds for everything. I do everything by the book, and which was very expensive. And it wasn't until I always tell everyone the thing with the effects clicked during the making of Bone Sickness, and that's where you see we just went crazy and did as many as possible. I got to a point where I changed my mindset. I'm like, why am I doing everything by the book? We're the financiers, we're the producers. We're not working with someone else's money. We're not producing something for a company. I'm like, I can recycle everything. That's where a major part of it. I have these boxes just full of old latex appliances. And when it comes to making bodies, when it comes to making the plasm at the end of CRYPTIC PLASM, that huge thing, I was just grabbing a piece of latex and hot gluing it on there. Same with the mother creature in Morbid Tales. To make that huge body, it takes a lot of latex to cover that much area. Yeah. So I'm just taking old pieces and I'm putting them in place. I'm doing I'm making a puzzle with the stuff. And I'm like, I don't have to do a whole new sculpt every time. I don't have to do all new molds. And once I got into that thought process, that's when my effects got bigger. It actually got a lot bigger once I started doing that. Because I got out of the mindset of being a special effects makeup artist, working as if you're working for a studio. I'm like, I'm not. So why the hell am I doing that?
Yeah, you're a filmmaker. It's your vision. It's your art. So, the book is great. And this goes for people who go to film school. Film school is great to give you that base of knowledge. But most of the great filmmakers end up taking a little bit of that and adding their own twist to it.
Yeah, it's funny actually. There was a night one of the nights there was at least 8 different shoots for filming that mother creature, filming the whole transformation and everything. On one of the nights we were doing gore, we had the branches coming up through the body. Someone's friend came over and he was a film student. And it's always interesting when that was the first time we've had a film student here since we were shooting Bone Sickness. And the film students always end up being very surprised and almost put off by how long everything takes. He was like, I remember he was like, we're doing another take. We got to do this again. In his mind, because he's realizing that whole night we shot, we're lucky if we got 30 seconds worth of footage to use.
Yeah.
But that it takes that long. We do multiple takes. We got to make sure the blood shoots out just right. If it come out the right way, we got to do it again. We got to reset again. Sometimes I got to make more blood. I'm like, oh crap, we went through all the blood we had for the night. So yeah, it's like, he was just like, why are we spending so much time on just this one shot of the blood shooting out? I'm like, that's what it takes to do this.
Oh yeah, if you're a big company too, I mean, it takes you, 3 months on a bigger scale shoot to get an hour and a half movie. There's a lot of shit that goes into that, young guy. Now, are you a collector of film?
Yes, I am. But I'll admit, I've gone through a weird phase over the past couple of years. I haven't been buying as much lately. A lot of my interest has just turned to music. I'm just obsessed with music now. So I've been collecting albums instead of movies lately.
Well, I was going to say, like, because I know you're a black metal guy, and a lot of the stuff in the woods from your early shorts, it really got that black metal feel to it, like Varg running around and
That's cool to hear because we love that. I mean, me and Rich George still say shooting Final Scream, the one that took place all in the woods, that was still one of the most fun movies we ever shot because we just loved being out in the woods at night. It was fucking creepy as hell. There was a couple of times we got scared being out there. We're like, what's that? Holy crap. Because it's just the two of us in one light. And, we find out later that we have packs of coyotes all over the place around this neighborhood. So
really?
Oh, yeah. That's awesome. Sometimes at 2:00 in the morning, if you're out in my backyard, it sounds like the howling out back in the woods. It's awesome.
Wow. Now the reason I asked about collecting is there been any newer filmmakers or newer films that you've been really into?
Yeah, see, that unfortunately, I've been watching mostly stuff from the 80s.
Yeah.
The newest movie that I love, I went in with low expectations because I didn't want to be disappointed, but I ended up loving was The Color Out of Space.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was awesome. I'm like, okay, they did an awesome job on this. I was very happy with that one. So that's, out of all the newer stuff I've seen, that's probably the one I was into the most. I've seen all those new stuff, and I enjoyed them and everything, but there hasn't been a lot of new stuff that's come out that it's like, I have to buy that as soon as it comes out.
That sent me on going back into Richard Stanley's stuff. I got that new edition of Hardware from Scorpion Releasing, and that was beautiful. Just the scan on that thing was incredible, and you got a cool refrigerator magnet with it to put up, and I had an old DVD of, and it's not old. I guess it's the special edition Dust Devil that has his shorts on it. Okay, and I've had it in shrink wrap for years. I was about to pop it open, and then shout out to Tommy Huffman. He posted his German Blu-ray media book of Dust Devil, and it had the work print on it, and on DVD, but the Blu-ray had the final cut on it. And so I didn't open my shrink wrap on the that double DVD set thing. And I got that German media book and went back and revisited that. When Severin did the sale, I picked up the the 3-disc of Lost Soul, the documentary about his aborted attempts at
The Island, Dr. Moreau.
Island Dr. Moreau. Yeah. And
I gotta finish that. I watched half of it, and it's just like, oh god, I can't.
that's a great doc, man.
Yeah,
that's David Gregory directed that, I guess. The guy from Severn, and that's it's inspirational and depressing.
Oh, it's very depressing. I just go imagine going through that. That must have sucked.
Well, he did so much. I mean, he still got paid, for a lot of what he did developing the project and things. It seems like he did, or I assume that's how it happened, because he hasn't, been behind the, in the director's chair since, until we get to Color Out of Space. But that, for those out there who were going to pick up the Dust Devil German media book, get the DVD of Dust Devil, that box set or that double thick DVD case, because it has all these short films he did, and some like documentary stuff that are not on any other release. So it's still like, I've got the German media book for the Blu-ray, for the best version of the final cut, and then the other set has, more things for the Richard Stanley, filmography. Talking about new filmmakers and collectors, a new filmmaker, I'm going to talk about S. Craig Zoller here.
Oh,
I was co-cinematographer on American Guinea Pig BLOODSHOCK, and he wrote an article in Fangoria about, the film I worked on, which was incredible because I like Zoller a lot. And I remember a post that you did. It seems like he picked up one of your films. Was it Bone Sickness?
He's one of our best customers, actually.
Really?
We've known him for quite a while. Because my wife Stacy, she's the business manager. She's the one that takes in all the orders. And I think it was back when FETUS was our newest one. She's like, "Who's this guy? He literally bought everything we sold on the website, and he kept buying FETUS over and over again." So she finally asked him. She asked who he was and all that stuff, and he ended up telling us how he wrote the script for Blackout Asylum, I think it was called. And I think at the time it was on Netflix, so we checked it out. We're like, "Oh, that's cool." And then we started talking to him more. Then also we saw Bone Tomahawk come out. We're like, "Oh my god, what the hell?" Like, he's like a full-blown director now. So yeah. we talk. I was emailing him back and forth during the summer and everything. We were bullshitting and stuff. And he's given us so much amazing support. He's given FETUS so much publicity. I was just like,
was he handing those things out at Christmas or something?
He bought copies. He bought at least 10 copies of FETUS off of us at different times. So yeah, we were wondering, like, who is he giving these to?
Yeah, and I think he's one of the, out of the new breed of guys coming up, he's one of the best in the game right now. So that's amazing to have that. Yeah, and Bone Tomahawk, the gore that he has in the end of that film is just some of the best that's out there right now. So that's awesome.
And he's a metalhead too.
Yeah, he sent me his demo.
I didn't. I haven't even heard his stuff. I just remember he used to write for Metal Maniacs.
He sent me a demo he did years ago. I don't think they ever went anywhere with the band, whatever. And unfortunately, I can't remember the band off the top of my head. But he was in a black metal band, and I listened to him like, this is good. Holy shit!
What type of black metal was it?
It was
kind of like grim, like late early 90s kind of stuff, or
had more of the primitive sound. It was fast, like maybe like somewhat early Dark Throne.
Okay.
Dark Throne.
Well, I mean, I love that stuff. So I mean, that early Norwegian sound. I mean, I love everything. I mean, I grew up with Bathory and Venom and Merciful Fate and shit.
Oh, hell yeah.
But the Transylvanian Hunger and Mayhem, Demisteris, those still get a lot of play.
Oh yeah,
now.
classic stuff.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, they were talking last month or whatever, and just asking what I was asking, what how he went about filming certain things, and he came right out and told me, he goes, he used to tell me your gore is what helped influence some of the stuff in my movies. I was like, holy shit, man, that's awesome, thank you.
Oh, yeah, you can't really get too much better praise than that. It's amazing in the last couple of years how his career has just shot up.
Well, he was saying he was influenced by the underground gore scene, the underground horror scene. That's what made him want to become a director. But he was having trouble. I can't remember what he said exactly, but he couldn't get it. He couldn't get it off the ground making a gore film. So that's why I think he turned his attention to doing it, the professional way. And that's how Bone Tomahawk came about. But he managed to get his gore in there. So
yeah.
Oh,
Well,
and
and he's a writer. He's a writer too, and I haven't read his stuff, but I hear his books are just amazing too. The guy's like a Renaissance man.
Yeah, I have one of his books. He sent us a copy of one of his books, and I've only read the beginning so far. I'm like the first page, it just sucks you right in. I'm like, holy shit! It goes to, it's like over the top as soon as it begins.
And what were you saying, Stephen? I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, I don't even remember what I was interjecting with. I just I think the guy's really talented, and I think he's a wonderful storyteller, and I think it sets the stage for the effects to be very impactful in his films, because I'm engaged when I'm watching the film. I'm they're not silly or happy films, but I'm having fun because it's like I'm immersed in the world. It draws me in, and these really cool effects scenes, and they are nihilistic, and it sets up that tone for dangerous art. It's good stuff.
I tried getting him in Septic. I asked him. I said, I know you're probably really busy. I go, would you do a scene where you're doing a video chat on the phone and we can just film it that way? And he was like, no, man, I don't act. He goes, I'm behind the camera. I don't want to be in front of the camera. I'm like, all right, no problem. That's cool. But I tried getting him in the movie.
Well, just to I just want to ask, how has been your relationship with the distro of Black Lava? How's that been working out with you?
They're awesome.
Yeah.
They are by far the best distribution company I've ever dealt with. And they're actually honest and loyal, and they pay you.
Well, that's the best part, right?
Yeah.
Are you getting a lot of German fans, people in that area, or from that distro?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, this year it's really screwed everything up because of the pandemic and everything. But there was definitely a point where I was like, you know what? I think the German scene is starting to get big. Our German buyers is outdoing our American buyers.
Really?
We were sending to Germany. We couldn't send FETUS anymore because FETUS got banned in Germany. But we were sending copies of Blood Pigs and Cryptic Plasm like crazy to Germany. We do very well in Europe.
Okay.
In the US, it comes in waves. It's before this year went to shit. We did awesome in Europe.
Awesome, man. Well, Steven, is there anything else you want to touch on before we let Brian go?
So, and just to ask for some clarity on Morbid Tales in the shorts.
Yep.
The Shifters was the second story, but that's obviously the third of the shorts.
Yeah.
So is Sacrificial Birth the earliest one?
That's the very first one we ever shot.
Okay.
We shot that in August of 1990. That's right. We basically had just come out of high school, and it was the first. Yeah, it was actually just tough to get a hold of a camera because we had no money back then. Luckily, a cousin of Rich's owned a camera.
What else is Black Lava carrying of yours? I think I saw a copy of FETUS up there.
They sell FETUS, Cryptic Plasm, and Morbid Tales.
Okay, sweet.
FETUS is made up of our DVDs. Cryptic Plasm is That's a PAL format, so if you buy it in the US, you have to have a multi-region player to be able to play their Cryptic Plasm disc.
Gotcha. And I do have a multi-region, so I'm set up, man. I'm not missing out on any cool additions from overseas ever. I'm not doing that. The cut I want, the packaging I want, or the film if it's not available in this region at all. I'm tired of watching everybody else, and I guess it's been 2 years now. I've had an all region. Although a few years back I started stockpiling releases as they would come out and be like, I gotta have that. I'll just put it away till I finally get that player, and it's one of the best decisions I made. I really love it. But also, so Septic. How was working with Ashley?
She was great. I'll admit we've had a falling out.
Okay, I didn't know. I wasn't asking that because I knew or had a hint of it. I didn't know. I just remember posts as y'all were wrapping, daily scenes and stuff with her, and I only know her from that.
Yeah.
So
no, she was awesome. She helped inspire a lot of some more of the stuff you'll see in it. Like, she had a very small character at first. She was only supposed to be in an autopsy scene, and that was really it. But we became great friends, and she's really into extreme stuff, and she was basically up for anything. I would say, hey, would you be interested? Yeah, let's go for it. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Me and her, we did some pretty sick shit. Definitely the sickest stuff I've ever done personally. So, yeah, there's definitely going to be a scene or two that people will be like, holy shit, guys, really?
Awesome. Well, we definitely can't wait for Septic. That was just the only other Septic-related question I had because, at this point, we want to make sure it's got a lot of mystery and it's, knocks people, when it comes out, and it's no spoilers.
I'm hoping sometime in the winter. It'll probably be more the winter of the beginning of 2021. Just I probably could have been further along with it, but this year I had multiple computer problems at getting the footage into the computer. I was having frame rate problems. It was just so frustrating. So I fell behind a bit, but I'm finally back into it again. I'm like, okay, the rough cut's coming together very nicely.
And what about your black metal project?
That's still happening very slowly. I've got all the guitars are recorded for the first CD, and the first two songs, the drums are recorded. But it's just because that one I'm basically doing completely by myself. It's hard sometimes to just get things done. Recording ends up being a chore.
So you're nice going full Varg on this one, huh?
Oh yeah. Just without the bullshit.
Well, even if we're talking about the first Burzum album and stuff, like he had engineers, and I think that a lot of people don't realize.
That's true. He was in a real studio and stuff. So
no, he made the degradation happen. It wasn't because he was working from, that was the height of the technology. Like, no, he tried to achieve that type of feel from it. And
I'm doing that straight out. I mean, I plug my guitar into my guitar program, and then when I'm recording the drums, I'm basically filming myself. I'm using my shooting camera, and I'm using a boom mic with that hanging over the drum set, and I'm basically everything gets put into the computer like as if I was editing a movie. I'm just taking the video and I'm sound mixing the whole thing that way. So yeah, it's just like I'm just doing what I can with what I got.
No, and a lot of people don't realize when you're recording, having that extra set of hands, and especially a knowledgeable set of hands, so you're freed up to do the best of the performance itself, is invaluable. But no, I've been there. I've recorded every instrument myself, and
it's tough.
And I love it. What are the names of those two songs? Because I know one of them I'm familiar with, I believe.
On what?
From your stuff, the two songs you got the drums to.
Oh,
one of them you did that video for over a year.
Beyond the Baphomet, the same song that's on the end credits of Morbid Tales.
Yes,
that's the one I shot a music video for.
Yep, I remember that one.
And actually, the first song on as I've re-recorded it. The first song on the new CD is called "Destroy All Gods," and that was actually used on the end credits of Bone Sickness back in 2004. So I've had this song forever, but I just, I recorded a whole new version of it. So.
And speaking of Bone Sickness, I was just I had the menu playing earlier, and I was just like, man, this really reminds me of the opening credits sequence for the Halperin brothers' White Zombie in 31. That tribal drums going on in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
And it was just like, I love that. I actually used that sample from White Zombie and did a loop of that to create an intro for something years ago. And cool. It was just cool because I was doing some things around the house and the menu just kept playing, and I was just like getting pulled into it. And then the animation on the zombies just kind of swaying there is pretty fucking cool. But yeah, man. Thanks for coming on with us. We appreciate the insight into what's going on with you and Morbid Vision Films and upcoming Septic, and the process and journey that brought Morbid Tales to us recently.
Yes, and please do not confuse Brian's films with Morbid Stories. Which is quite possibly the worst thing that's ever been made.
Oh,
so,
I haven't heard that one yet.
Oh God, I never talk bad about indie films most of the time, even if I don't, even if I don't like somebody. But I watched this and it was just so bad that it felt like, they knew it was bad and they still tried to sell it to people. It's like there was no passion. They just picked up a camera and decided to make something and thought they could sell it. So yeah, do not confuse, Morbid Tales or Morbid Visions with Morbid Stories.
Remember, Morbid Tales is the one named after a Celtic Frost song. So
oh, of course, man.
And Morbid Visions.
Yeah, I know. I love all the references that.
That wasn't intentional, actually. I'll admit that one was not intentional. It was until after, because Morbid Tales was just the perfect name for Morbid Vision Film short stories. So that's perfect. Then I'm like, oh, here we go, and I just named another movie after a song.
Oh, and at dawn they sleep.
At dawn they sleep. Yeah, actually, I'm going through I'm struggling with the next movie I'm supposed to make. I'm gonna make a big Lovecraftian movie. And I'm going off of a script I wrote before we shot Bone Sickness, and the name of the song is Procreation of the Wicked. I mean, the name of the movie is Procreation of the Wicked. I'm like, I just released Morbid Tales. I cannot release another Celtic Frost song movie. So I'm like,
it'll be your Celtic Frost trilogy. You got to do a third.
Exactly.
Or call it Hellhammer. You take it back.
Yeah.
To the pre-Celtic Frost stuff. Apocalyptic Raids.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Well, Brian, let the people know out there. Of course, they can, the people who might be in Europe or with All Region Player can go to Black Lava. But where else can they buy your films, and what's the best way to buy your films to be most profitable to you?
Well, yeah, with Black Lava, Europe or even in America, as long as you have a multi-region, blacklava.at. They've got FETUS, CRYPTIC PLASM, Morbid Tales, and I think that's it. For here in the United States, right now we're only selling on eBay. We've got to relaunch our website at some point, so just look under eBay for Morbid Vision Films, and we've got our DVDs on there.
And what do you have in stock now that people can get?
We've got Bone Sickness, FETUS, CRYPTIC PLASM, and Morbid Tales.
Okay. So
Blood Pigs is unfortunately sold out.
Okay.
We no longer have that one available at the moment.
And so, folks, buy these while you can. Brian's not. He's not a rich man who just goes and prints these things whenever he runs out. So buy them while you can. I still have my my signed FETUS that I is one of my favorite in my collection. So I hold that dear. So yeah, thanks for coming on, Brian. We really love the passion that you have behind your films and the gore that you show, and keep on doing the great work, man.
Thank you. I mean, we're not doing this as a business. That was our goal at one point, but then you kind of face reality, and like, we're basically a group of horror fans doing it because we love it. We enjoy doing this, so that's why we put everything we can into our movies.
Yeah, that's all you have is passion. It's if people love it, they love it. You can't make people love it, but if it's if you're an artist, it's your outlet. Whether people are buying it or either you're making $1 million or $1, you still have to have that outlet.
Oh yeah, and if like I said, if it's just one person, I'll just receive one email or just one comment on a post, and if someone says they really enjoyed it, it's just like, well, there we go. That made it worth it. That one person made it worth it.
Yeah, filmmakers can't be rich like us podcasters. It's a sad world, but we're in it for the money. So, but man, I appreciate
we're drowning in them nickels.
Yeah, we really appreciate you coming on, my friend.
Thanks for asking. This was fun. I enjoyed it.
Anything else you want to say before we sign off, Stephen?
No, just a thanks again to Brian for coming out, and just everybody out there, support Brian. Please share this episode with like-minded people, or convert other-minded people to the extreme film and subversive film and stuff. Word of mouth goes a long way, especially for art like this.
Oh, I should probably add one more thing. I just realized. We talk about is gore films, and we make gore films. We actually put a lot of effort into telling stories too, as well.
Yeah,
our movies are actually character driven stories that sometimes, like CRYPTIC PLASM, you actually have to wait at least 40 minutes before any of the effects really start to happen.
Oh yeah,
CRYPTIC PLASM, yeah, and hopefully we're going to be doing our Sadistic Cinema vintage episodes, like bringing back some of those old interviews and then making them videos instead of just the old live broadcast archive stream. Cool. But hopefully we can access that episode. We lost the network we were with left the platform, and we lost a lot of our things that were not pre-recorded, that were live broadcasts, that were archived on that platform itself.
That sucks.
So if we can find that will definitely be one of the Sadistic Cinema vintage episodes.
Nice, cool.
Yeah, and thanks again, man. And go out and check Brian's films out. Like I said, he's telling the story. He's doing everything himself. Directing. He's doing the gore. He's writing stories. So check it out. It's a lot of fun. Thanks again, Brian. Folks, you can see what's going on with Sadistic Cinema in our group, the Sadistic Cinema community. We try to be on Twitter. I don't think either of us really like Twitter all that much, but yeah, we're on Twitter at Sadistic. What is it, at Sadistic Cinema or at Stephen?
It is at Sadistic_Cinema.
Oh yeah, because some asshole took Sadistic Cinema, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. We're not going to mention any names, but So, but we're mainly in the group on Facebook. Come join us, see what's going on, get the latest updates. But thanks again for stopping in and listening to us, and everybody have a great evening.